Hello there, Bulls Nation. It's Aiden, and welcome to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a Chicago Bulls and Cleveland Cavaliers game reaction. The first one of many, ladies and gentlemen. It's preseason time, and the Bulls take center stage away from home in Cleveland and ended up picking up a victory. Now, ultimately, the wins and the losses don't necessarily mean the greatest amount, in my eyes at least, in preseason, but you get to truly analyze what's going right for the Bulls, what's going wrong, what they're trying to do, and everything in between. It's an experimental stage with this Bulls team. So, I'm going to talk about what I liked and what I didn't like, because there's a little bit of both in here in this video. Before we get any further, if you liked the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you agree with my opinions or not in this game, and who was your player of the game in this timeout. I have mine set in stone, but I think it could go to a couple of guys out there in this one. But we won the game 116 to 112. Ultimately, a game of two halves, let's put it that way. And when the Bulls got to their reserve team and Cleveland got to their reserve team, that's probably when the Bulls really got away with it. But I have to admit as well, even before then, we was making that slight comeback. We were still in the game. But there were a couple of things that really got me worrying. First and foremost, obviously, again, this is preseason. Keep that in mind. So they had plenty of time to kind of rectify these things I'm about to say. I did not like our defensive pressure in the first half of that game. There were a couple of times, guys like Evan Mobley had an unbelievable first half of basketball, but too many wide open shots, too many people going under screens. When you have to, I guess, rotate, we rotated very slowly. When we had to, I guess, you know, I forget the term for it, but when people had to cover each other, when we're scrambling, I think that's the word, that was quite slow as well. The switching and the lack of communication there, a lot of off-ball stuff as well, just really, really poor in the first half. And Cleveland got to a hot start from the three-point line. That didn't help. It just wasn't a great first half to watch. And I have to put that down to a couple of things. First and foremost, Billy Donovan using a whole bunch of different lineups, a whole bunch of different rotations, putting guys in and then taking guys out 2 minutes after and stuff of that nature. That was a bit questionable. But ultimately, again, it's preseason, so you have to experiment with these type of things. I think that definitely impacted our defensive end. But if you're looking straight for the starting lineup, I just don't think our starting lineup was that defensive at all. I mean, we started Kobe, we started Zach, we started Josh Giddey, we started Vucevic and Patrick Williams. I just don't think there's enough defensive energy in that lineup. And it's completely night and day when you brought in that bench mob, where you brought in the Ios and the Dalen Terrys and the Julian Phillips and the Mateus Bazelises of the world. And all of a sudden, this team became a lot more of a defensive team. They really got down and dirty on the defensive end. They were scrambling for everything. They were fighting for every ball. It was a completely different shift. So I would say maybe the starting lineup does need a little bit of adjusting before we head into that, I guess, game one of the NBA season. Or maybe the Bulls are just fine with that lack of defensive energy in the hopes that the offensive end will carry the load until we can finally get our defensive guys in there to do some work. The second half was much better defensively, and even offensively the second half was much better, because the first half was pretty poor on that end as well. Too many missed threes. I'm happy that we're taking them, and I guess the positive thing is we are playing faster. I think that's a night and day thing. Even to the point where I felt like we were playing so fast, we couldn't handle how fast Cleveland were playing on the other end. We dictated the pace, and Cleveland, I guess they invited that pace on, and sometimes we couldn't even handle it. But we are playing faster. It is nice to see. It's good to see a modern game of basketball. It's good to see guys like Josh Giddey, you know, being able to bring the ball up and make a play and do some playmaking things and get some rebounds. It's good to see Kobe and Pat even though he didn't make many, if any, Zach LaVine. They're all kind of playing a modern game of basketball now. It is quite entertaining. It's very fast-paced. It's very up and down. In many ways, you can't believe you're watching basketball. That's kind of how I feel. It's definitely night and day difference to old-school basketball, like you may have saw in 2011 or something like that. Nonetheless, we are catching up with the times, per se. But yeah, way too many missed threes. Some really bad low IQ shots as well that I think played a factor into the amount of missed threes that we had. And yeah, that's the biggest offensive complaint I have with this Bulls team in the first half. But then you turn to the second half and you start to see a lot of positives. First and foremost, I just think that the Bulls didn't prioritize shooting threes that much and actually went to the rim. And when you go to the rim, whether it's in transition like we saw a couple of times, or whether it's guys like Taylor Horton-Tucker or Dalen Terry or Kobe White that were pushing it to the rim and kicking it out to the open man, it forces the defense to collapse. And when a defense collapses, you get more open shots, but you also get shots in rhythm. You get shots within the flow of the offense that you may not get when you're forcing up threes at the end of the day. So that's what I really liked offensively about the Bulls' second half, but I just liked how much fight we put into it. You could tell players really wanted to make an impact. There are players fighting for their lives in this Bulls team, and they're the ones that completed that comeback and got the win at the end of the day. Now turning into some individual performances, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to list everybody. I want to list the guys that I thought stood out well for the Chicago Bulls. Let's start off with the starting lineup. I really want to talk about Kobe White. It's leading the team in points, 21 points today, 3 rebounds and 3 assists. Efficiency-wise, it was a little bit lackluster, but not terrible. 7 from 15 from the field, so just about below 50%, and 3 from 7 from the three-point line, which is not too bad at all. Ultimately, I really enjoyed Kobe White's game. What I liked about Kobe White's game more than anything is that he's getting into that point of his career where he can shift his speed like this. He could be sizing someone up. It could be the slowest play you've ever seen, and then you blink and he's gone. He's so quick when it comes to his shifted movements. And I think that allowed him to get a lot of open shots near the rim. It also allowed him to get open shots from 3 at times. And again, I like the way that he's able to dictate the play and dictate the speed within his own game. It is quite nice. It's something we didn't see in his rookie season. Kobe White was go, go, go in that first season. He was trying to go full speed ahead every single play. He even did that in college, if you guys remember. But at the end of the day, it's nice to see that shift and knowing when to turn on that speed and when to tone it down a little bit and make the right play. It was really impressive. And I think he was easily our best starter for this game, and I enjoyed the way that he played. Josh Giddey, 11 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. I'm really going to start enjoying Josh Giddey's rebounding. I think that is the thing I'm going to enjoy the most. Ultimately, playmaking-wise, there's going to be some great plays that he makes throughout the course of the season that we're all going to be like, wow, I cannot believe he did that. But mostly, I'm going to be impressed with how he gets the rebound and pushes it up-tempo, which is exactly what we saw in this game. Now, his shooting was awful. I'm not even going to read what he shot because it's going to get me upset. And ultimately, he wasn't definitely, you could tell he was new, and you could tell he didn't really adjust with everybody as of yet. But he's also showing his qualities, which is what I like. Ayo off the bench with 10 points. For the longest time, he was the second leading scorer for the Bulls. And again, when the Bulls were struggling, Ayo was the guy that kept us in the game. He was Mr. Consistent out there, and I really enjoyed that from him. I thought he had a stellar game, and he should be very impressed. And then I want to talk about 2 more guys. Actually, I want to talk about, there's so many guys I want to talk about. The centers, Vucevic, Jalen Smith, both double-doubles in this game. I mean, look, I don't personally think that's going to happen throughout the course of the season, but my goodness, what an impressive way to start that combination. They didn't necessarily play with each other, but having someone, again, it's like the Andre Drummond effect, having someone off the bench that can make an impact like a starter, it's like a luxury in many ways. If Jalen Smith can produce at that level, and he didn't even shoot that well from 3 today. Let me check. What did he shoot from 3 today? Jalen Smith was 0 from 4. Didn't make 1. When he starts making his threes, that could be a completely different way that we like to play as well. But he was very much down in the paint today, capitalizing on mismatches, doing his thing from that department. It was quite impressive. And Vucevic, again, 12 and 10. Not the best, not the worst. You expect more from Vucevic at the end of the day, but he was 6 from 10. And if anyone's going to have to catch up with the speed of the game, the way that we like to play it, it's going to be him. Okay. 2 more guys I want to talk about before we go. Dalen Terry. When he came in, Instant change in the game, instant impact. Yes, he didn't have the best stats out there in the world, but in my opinion, the game really shifted on its head because of how much energy and defensive pressure he brought to the game. And that is contagious. And if you could get guys like Dalen Terry and Io to take the next step defensively, Lucy Caruso might not be the worst thing in the world because you've got guys that can hopefully fill in the void. Dalen Terry might be able to do that. And if he keeps on playing this way, he'll get in the lineup. And Mateus Bazelis, the rookie, in my opinion, the player of the game. What an introduction to the NBA for Mateus Bazelis. Came in, was composed, took the right shots at the right time, was forcing people to foul him. Defensively, he was all over the place. He was great. And in my opinion, we could easily give this award to Kobe White or someone like that. But when you make the impression like that in your first preseason game, I don't care. I don't care who else play. I don't care if anyone got 50 in this game. I'm giving my player of the game to Mateus Bazelis because that is a strong introduction. And ultimately, we are 1-0 in the season. Preseason, that is. I don't know when our next game is, but I feel like it's a fair ways away. Let's take a look. We are playing in the next game the Memphis Grizzlies, and that will be on Saturday night, or for you guys, Sunday morning for me. I may be able to do a watch along for that one, so stay tuned for that. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next game reaction, and I will see you guys in the next video where we can continue to analyze what we saw from that game. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.